After a few drinks, I swore I could understand animals. My roommates laughed out on the spot. They pulled the dying pet out of its cage. I saw the dog lean into the cat's ear and say, "Tonight, we'll kill him secretly." I was startled to hear this. There was jeering all around. I smiled and said, "HMPH. The two of them are discussing how to kill you." Hearing this, everyone laughed even harder. My roommate was even more direct and kicked down at the two pets. "I'm the one feeding you. And you actually have these thoughts?" Hearing those wretched wails, I suddenly snapped awake. This was bad. How could I have said that just now? "What are you doing?" I quickly pushed my roommate away and held the two screaming pets in my arms. Then, the moment I touched them, I couldn't help but gasp. The little guys who looked fluffy ... were actually skin and bones, and there were long protrusions on their backs. What is this? The other roommates also gathered around. Upon closer look, they were shocked. On them were actually dried up scabs. Seeing this situation, everyone was completely sobered up. "Xena, why are there so many injuries on them? Could you have been the one hitting them? Aren't you a pet blogger? To think you'd actually abuse cats and dogs." Hearing this, Xena also got angry. "Do you guys have any brains? On what grounds do you say I hit them? They're pets. Of course they get hurt running and jumping around. Besides, I'm not the only one living in this house. Who knows if someone else in the house is bullying them?" As she spoke, she snatched the cat from my arms and tossed it into the room. The dog fell on the ground and was also driven back into the cage, limping. Not long after I returned to my room, that screaming sound came again. I opened Xena's previous live stream. Inside, she was working hard to sell a pet product, while the two little pets sat obediently by the chair. I fast-forwarded the progress bar and found that for several hours, they hadn't moved at all. Words like "so obedient" kept appearing in the comment section. But how could this be achieved just by being obedient? Combined with the scabs on their backs, my heart sank. Xena must have tied them up with wire. Recalling the words I heard today, it started to make a bit more sense. But can pets really kill people? Probably not. What I didn't expect was that after only one night, Xena died. When her body was found, she was completely naked. She was electrocuted. There were charred black spots all over her body. Her hair was also burned away. The police said it was because the internal wiring of the hairdryer was damaged, plus water droplets on the socket, so an accident occurred. Those two pets jumped onto the bed, escaping the disaster. I suddenly realized. I quickly walked over to them and crouched down. The next second, a burst of laughter came from my ear. "Ha ha ha, that wire was really hard to bite through. I even wore down one of my teeth. Tell me about it." That power strip was high up too. I had to step on the stool to jump up there. I gasped sharply in horror. I felt a chill all over my body. They really did it. They really killed Xena. Even the police thought it was an accident. That's true. Who would believe that a dog and a cat would kill someone? I didn't speak for a long time until my roommate's voice pulled me back. "Xena is gone. What about these two pets? We can't just throw them out." Another roommate also expressed regret. "These two little guys are pitiful enough. Why don't we keep them here and raise them together?" The two of them turned and looked at me expectantly, but I felt uneasy in my heart, too. Criminals, can they be considered pitiful? Actually, I know a pet shop owner. We could send them there first to wait for adoption. As soon as the words left, I suddenly heard two voices. He actually wants to send us away. The next person who should die is him. These words made me shudder. But before I could speak again, the two of them started voting. The result was naturally obvious. I looked at those green glowing eyes and didn't dare say anything more. I originally thought, as long as I minded my own business, they probably wouldn't do anything outrageous. But it wasn't long before I realized how naive my thoughts were. Once, I went back to the dorm at noon to get something and saw my roommate feeding them mouth to mouth. My roommate Liu Ming is a straight talker and directly rushed over screaming, "Oh my god, don't you know how many bacteria are in their mouths? You're being way too careless." Her voice was very loud. Sun Yang looked embarrassed and whispered, "Should I be like you and just ignore them? They say you were the one who suggested raising them first, but then you didn't do anything." By the time I arrived, the two of them were already arguing. Liu Ming has a big temper. Her voice was deafening. "How am I not taking care of them? Didn't I buy all their dog food? Or should they eat your pickles and steamed buns? You feed them mouth to mouth and don't find it disgusting. But we eat and drink together every day. We're afraid of the bacteria. Who do you think this is? Your village. I quickly pulled her away, coaxing and persuading her into the room. Yang, don't mind her. Her temper is just like that. Sun Yang came from a remote mountain village. There was always some inferiority and restraint in our interactions. Now, having been poked in a sore spot, her face turned red. She clenched her fists and said nothing. But the fur of those Pets was standing on end, staring intently at Liu Meng's bedroom. Alarmed, I quickly walked in and heard there two vicious voices. To bully my owner like that. We must teach them a lesson. Their two pairs of eyes suddenly looked at me, glinting with a cold light. He is the person the owner hates most. We can't let him off either, right? We worked so hard to help the owner kill the previous one, and he actually wants to send us away. I was instantly stunned. Xena's accident. Was it supported by Sun Yang? Soon, that whispering sound reached my ears again. How should we deal with them? Why not use the same method as last time? And there's a bottle of medicine in the kitchen cabinet. I heard humans say that drinking too much of that can kill you. Alarmed, I remembered when I first moved in, the medicine I got from the hospital for insomnia. It was placed in the kitchen cabinet. It might be too high, I can't reach it. I heard the cat laugh again. Hehe, don't worry. I can jump up there. I hurriedly covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Their thoughts were too terrifying. I absolutely cannot stay in this house anymore. If there's really no way to drive them out, I must find a doctor to give them a lethal injection. Such terrifying creatures no longer deserve to be called pets.